Good morning. So who's ready to talk about money today? Everyone's like, money. So look, before I pull up my deck or anything, I just want us to be present to one thing. Is having conversations with other people about money something that most people generally feel comfortable with? Yes or no? No. Right. So I think one of the things I like to frame this conversation with is just take a step back. How many people here are married? A good amount of us, right? Think about the first time you had to talk to your spouse about money, shared finances, and everything else, right? And now, mind you, this is somebody that you're in an intimate relationship with, you know really well, you have all this history. It is a weird conversation, right? And like it can cause conflict. People have different perceptions of it. Based on ethnicity, discussing this is another factor to consider in this. So when we start talking about people's financials, you have to be very careful with the tonality in which you ask people. I say this all the time. If you go to like the old school pre-qualifying questions, like, why do you want to move? How soon do you want to be there? Have you been a pre-approved? It's like an FBI interrogation. And they just raised their hand and said, hey, I'm, looking to make this major decision in my life. So I think coming from a place of empathy is really important, coming from a place to seek to understand versus seek to be understood, right? Like we need to understand their financial positions. And look, depending on how you show up, that's the difference between being an agent and an advisor, right? I always talk about don't confuse what you do with how you do it. This is the how part of your job, right? What you do is sales. There's no two ways about that. If it walks like a duck, it quacks like a duck. If you only make money when you sell something, you're a salesperson. How you be a salesperson is the experience you create, the questions you ask, and the choices that you make. Does that make sense, everybody? All right, give me a second. Let me pull up my deck and we'll get started. I really love Canva, but it always comes with these extra steps. Look, I think our role as advisors is helping buyers navigate their finance, not question them and get them to justify to us why they're buying a home. So when you look at economics, there are always two schools of thought. People are either focused on price or monthly payments. And this is speaking their language of money, right? So some people are focused on purchase price. Some people are focused on monthly payments, right? The people that are focused on purchase price are down payment sensitive, and people that are focused on monthly payments are cost sensitive, right? The monthly payment people are generally the people that are really good with budgeting and also understand all the little details, right? So meet people where they are, not where you want them to be. So can you tell me how you're making your home purchase financial decisions? Is it based on purchase price or monthly payment? That really dictates the conversation, right? So when you ask them some of these questions, right, you can just start asking, have you been pre-qualified? Have you been pre-approved? What down payment are you comfortable with, right? And going through this is a simple process that can actually ruin a relationship depending on the way that you ask, right? So, I always like to frame the conversation as, I'd say, Jeff, Martha, Mike, if the three of you are buying investment property, I'd say, we believe that every buyer has the right to know all of the finances and not only purchasing a home, but the ones associated when they have a home, right? Have you ever heard the saying, house rich and life poor? That's what we want to make sure that nobody we work with is. And they're going to go, okay, like that's good for me, right? As opposed to saying, hey, we have a list of questions for you to see, you know, how you can position your offer, or like, can you buy it? Like, you got to give it, remember, communication without context is miscommunication because it's just up for interpretation. Now, I want you to start thinking, what are some of the common concerns you've heard with buyers from financing, and how do you address the concerns? So a couple of you just unmute yourself. Like, what are the concerns that people have?
The interest rate.
Interest rate? Okay. Anybody else?
How rehab costs play into the overall picture of their financing.
Interest rates, overall rehab costs, right? Anyone else? One more person.
Now the commissions or the compensation that the buyer might have to pay their agent.
Ding, 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 right? These are three different things. Like, a commission in many loan programs is a HUD approved closing fee.
Right.
Right. So number one, I need you all to speak with three different types of lenders. Do you know what the three different types, or four actually? The four different types of lenders are?
Yeah.
What are they?
Well, you have your in-house lender like Origin Point, you have Wells Fargo, you have also the luxury, the people who have a high net equity, they're special, like Merrill Lynch, Goldman Sachs, all that.
Five, actually. There's five.
Yeah.
So
okay.
five
Those are
is
the
like private bankers, right, that do high net worth people.
right.
People like Wells and B of A and those other bigger banks that specialize in jumbo loans, right? You'll want a direct lender. A direct lender is somebody that lends money, funds their own loan, and then sells it to Fannie Mae or Freddie Mac, right?
Right.
The fourth type of lender is a broker, right? A mortgage broker, somebody who shops. Right. And a lot of them, they're the ones where you find like the no income verification loans, bank statement loans, more creative financing, right? And the fifth one are portfolio lenders.
Right.
These are lenders that lend their own money and they keep the loans. So in portfolio lenders, if you have relationships with the bank or you send money to a bank, there are different programs, discounts, and interest rates, right? Another thing that people don't realize is there's a loan product, there's a conventional loan product where you can put 10 or 20% down and actually get financing, Michael, to rehab. Like, it's not just a 203K loan that does it, right? So we all need to be experts in these programs, in these banks, in these lenders, and what they offer so we can speak to them. I believe that I can still speak to loans better than 90% of people, because when I got my license, I literally was obsessed with learning the whole process. So I got a job that I got paid no money as a paralegal, and I learned the whole closing process and everything else. I went to work with a lender a couple days a week. So I learned, like, I can tell you front end ratio, back end ratio, exceptions, different loan programs, how they work, PMI, DTI, MIP, all those different things. Like, we all need to know about this stuff, right? It adds to your value. You also need to ask every one of these lenders, how is it possible under any of your loans to finance any portion of the buyer's agent's commission, right? So these are things that you want to know. And by the way, every single thing that comes up as a concern for a buyer with financing, you should keep on a sheet, because if it comes up once, it's going to come up again. So this is like playing offense and planning for the future, not just being in crisis care every time you have a problem. So we talk about knowing your numbers: interest rates, down payments, mortgage taxes, and insurance, commonly known as PITI, right? Principal, interest, taxes, insurance, right? On top of the interest rates. The other things is you want them to understand that that's not the only bill they have for their house, right? So if you look at loans, there's a front end ratio and a back end ratio. The front end ratio is their housing payment. Generally, you can go 30 to 35% max in a loan. So if you make $10,000 a month, your housing payment can't be more than $3,000 to $3,500, and that's the principal, interest, taxes, and insurance, right? Then they have a back end ratio. The back end ratio can go up to 45%. Some banks will do up to 50, but the back end ratio includes the housing payment. So let's just say the housing payment was $3,000, right? You can have another $1,500 in minimum monthly liabilities that show up on your credit report. So that could be your credit cards, student loans, like department store cards, things that you bought on 0% financing or
Auto.
finance, auto loans that are the killer of DTIs, right? And those things make up their actual DTI, which is their debt to income ratio. But if you look at some people and they're at like 45%, you also have to figure they probably pay 30% in taxes, which only leaves them 25% of money to live off of. You have utility bills, HOA fees, maintenance costs, right? Understanding monthly costs versus total costs. Their kids might have activities. They might have activities, right? They have to go food shopping. They still have to pay for internet and cell phones and car insurance, right? So this is a place where you can really add a lot of value because you're helping people think about things that they're not thinking about, because lenders are only focused on two numbers, the front end ratio and the back end ratio. That's it. They're not doing this. I spoke to a group of loan officers the other day, like, how could we have more value to people? I'm like, well, why don't you help people factor in all of their things so they make sure that they're in the right program and loan? What additional costs do buyers overlook, right? Like those are the ones that we just talk about. And important of a pre-approval versus a pre-qualification. I wouldn't spend too much time on this, right? Is because I think people get it. I don't know how many pre-quals they have anymore, but you know, the big thing now is sending all your docs and getting an underwriting. DU is what's called desktop underwriter, right? So that means they've submitted all your things and they have like a soft approval for your loan pending conditions. Like DU approvals is the way to go today. Isn't it interesting how I know about all this different stuff and I haven't sold real estate in years? Like you don't forget this stuff once you've done it over and over and over again, right? I haven't actively sold real estate in 6 years. Besides like the few transactions people forced me into doing they did not want to do. That all have weird stories and outcomes, and that's a tale for a different day in person. So have you had situations where a buyer didn't get pre-approved and it impact their ability for competitive offer? My favorite people in the world, I'll get pre-approved when I find a place. If it's meant to be, it's meant to be. You ever hear those people? And I say what's meant to be is meant to be only, and if only you've done everything that you can control to make sure that you show up for the situation. If people don't want to get approved, pre-approved, I would not bring any of them out. Right. And yes, there are people that just have large sums of money and everything else. And there's always an exception to the rule, but like live by the rule. So when you start managing their expectations and aligning their expectations with the budget, then you could also help them make compromises on location, size, features, and you keep them grounded in reality of the overall lifestyle they want to live inside of the house and outside of the house. Because you're actually taking the time to factor it in. You can literally go on ChatGPT and say, you know, I'm a real estate advisor. One of the challenges my clients commonly face is when speaking with lenders, they only cover the principal, interest, taxes, insurance, which is just their housing payments. Can you itemize the list one by one of all the other factors that someone living in a single family home, a condo, an apartment with 2 kids or whatever it is should include in their budget so they don't end up life rich, house rich, and life poor? And it's going to give you a list and you just work off of it. You got to remember, with AI, there is so much information that you can get like this. And just for fun, if you go into ChatGPT and you actually type this in, this is actually pretty cool. It says, where is this? What do you know about me that I might not know about myself based on my previous interactions? It is enlightening in terms of what comes up. My 5 things were: you excel at combining expertise across different fields. You prioritize long-term relationships in both personal and professional realms. You're always evolving and open to learning. You value simplicity and actionability. You balance ambition with emotional intelligence. And then it kind of just gave some samples. Just gonna learn something cool about yourself. So how do you help your clients manage their expectations when they have a fixed budget but high expectations? Right? I always say, look, whatever you do, support you 100%. At this point, we have two choices. We can either raise your price point to meet your expectations or change your expectations to meet your price point. Which one would work better for you? That's it. Remember, what they do is their choice. You have no control over what other buyers are willing to pay for homes and what sellers are willing to accept for their homes. So at this point, it's on them.
Can you repeat that, what you just said?
Yeah, be like, look, Andrew, I just want to let you know at this point, you know, we've hit like a little fork in the road. Or I would just say, look, at this point, there's two different options, and know that whichever one you choose to do, I support you 100%. We can either raise your price point to meet your expectations, or adjust your expectations to meet your price point. Which one works better for you?
Beautiful. Really beautiful.
Preparing buyer offers, discussing offer strategies, potential bidding wars, right? We have our multiple offer template that works incredibly well. Review their budget before every offer so they know what they're getting into. This is what they're paying you all this money for. It's not anything else, right? So how do you help buyers calm and confident during offer negotiations? You need to explain to them what the process actually is before they get started, right? If you're in a competitive market, you have to brace the buyers in by saying, look, you can make a very competitive offer. And in this market, people are bidding far beyond the asking price. There are a lot of cash buyers. So I just want to level our expectations. We need to get to the place where we put our best foot forward. And I always say there's like a tipping point in an offer where in anything you buy, if they charge you literally $1 more, you would walk away happily. So in the end, if you really love this house and it's gonna blank, you know, the M in the Med C, the motivations, what they're excited about happening, and this checks all those boxes, my suggestion is put your best foot forward where if it was $1 more, you'd have no regrets. If not, you'll second guess yourself forever. Now, look, discussing financials is uncomfortable. However, having these conversations up front, authentically, will help you build trust, rapport, and foster your expertise with your clients. In the end, you look like a real advisor and expert worth the money you have, right? Have the conversation early, ensure the buyer understands monthly and total costs, prepare offers with financial clarity, and use scripts to make financial discussions easy and clear like the ones we shared today. So I have left ample time for Q&A. So Colleen had her hand up, then Namita.
Hi, Chirag. Yeah, there was something that you said about the lenders, like some of the lenders, did you say being willing to pay part of the broker's fee or roll the
Yeah.
loan into the
Well,
broker?
you have to find out. It's different based on all loan programs, but a commission on some loans is a HUD approved closing fee. So I would reach out to those different lenders and ask them.
Right, because I was in Massachusetts, buyers cannot roll it into the, you know, the commission into the loan.
Is that a state law?
Apparently, I've checked with our broker and that's what they said.
I would go talk to 5 lenders.
You would talk to who?
Be nice to see it. I would talk to different lenders. I don't know. I can't speak to every state regulation, but
Yeah, I understand that, but that's what we were told in Massachusetts, that they can't, because I thought they could. But anyway,
I would still just do my own due diligence.
okay, thanks.
I'm going. I can't hang a picture, but I can't find my whole.
All right, Namita, I'm gonna unmute you again. Wait, it's okay. You can unmute yourself.
Okay. So, you know, you said, oh, go to ChatGPT and ask them, tell me something about myself. So what were the prompts that you put in?
I literally just put in, what do you know about me that I might not know about myself based on previous interactions?
Oh, okay. Based on previous.
Paris, you don't want to know? You look a little. I've had a few other people do this, and they're like, one person. I go, what did it say? They're like, I don't know. I typed some weird stuff in here. I really don't want to share. Right. This is just for you. This is not for anybody else. Right?
And I would like you to repeat, you know, what Andrea asked, like, what are your 2 different options? Raise your price point, or what was the second thing?
The first option is to raise your price point to meet
To
your
meet-
expectations
meet your
or adjust your expectations to meet your price point.
Okay. Thank
Some
you.
people running back. I see. We have a friend Chelsea here in Maui. So everyone say hi to Hawaii in the house.
Good morning.
Good morning. Welcome back.
Thank you. I got up early.
I know it's 6 hours before there, right?
I've been up since 4.
4. Well, see, we have some Peggy's another early riser. So look, I think the early mornings are just it's the best time. There's just so much peace and silence. And, I'm always actively working on time blocking and productivity. And, one of the conversations I had with a group of professional athletes was, what choices do you make when you wake up in the morning? Right? Like your brain is a blank canvas when you start the day, and you have to feed it choicefully. Most people, unfortunately, do 2 things when they wake up. You know what those 2 things are? They go in their inbox and they go on their social media. So if you think about it, the morning is about you, right? The second you go in your inbox, it's an organized system for everyone else's agenda. If I go on my email, it's a bunch of people that want things from me, right? You want something, you send an email. Social media is what everyone else wants to talk about in their life, and it's literally meant to be a trap. So part of the conversation I had was doing research on how much time adults spend on social media. You want to know something really insane? The average American adult spends about 2.5 hours roughly a day on social media, right? So in the end of a year, people are spending 1 month of their year on their cell phone like this. A month. 1 out of the next 12 years of your life, if you're only at 2.5 hours, it is spent doom scrolling or whatever the hell people do on there for 2.5 hours a day. 1 out of 12 years. There is no human on earth that could tell me if they used half that time in working on themselves that they wouldn't be better. And anything that addicting should be classified as a drug. It's built on behavioral psychology. People want to leave. You have literally problems in human relationships. And you have like people like thought leaders like Lewis Howes saying, imagine if social media was like a store and closed at 6 o'clock, like how much happier people would be. Right? Like it's, I don't know. People ask me all the time, like, you have a production company and all these cameras and like, you do a lot of interesting things. Like, why don't you post more on social media? And you can get, because I hate it, right? Like, I just personally speaking, like, there's a lot of good things that come out of it, but like anything in life, you can either control it or it can control you, right? So, as we end the year, like, look at how this is impacting you, because if you spent 30 full days in a year working on your business and yourself, could any person here say that their life wouldn't be 1,000 times better? The answer is no. Like, that's 30 24-hour days. It's 720 hours. Like, that's crazy. And we just give that time away. But yet we always don't have time for our spouses, our kids, working on our business, working on ourselves, going to the gym, taking the time to plan to eat healthy. Like, if you start looking at this stuff, it feels like we live in the Matrix. The Matrix, right? It's like we're all just sitting here in this world of just stuff. And the reason I share this is I want to challenge everyone as they build these habits and crush the end of the year. How are you choosing to invest your time? And what are you investing your time in? I love people that say, I'm too busy to do this. No, you're not. You're really not. All I have to do is go in the screen time section of your phone. And that's 2.5 hours of just like social media. You haven't even factored in email and texting, and not all your texting is for work, right? Like, many of us have different things we do, and I'm not here to pass judgment on what you do and what you not do. But what I'm telling you to do is prioritize you. Fill your own cup first from the second you wake up in the morning. Do what's best for you, your mind, and look at time like money. Would you ever invest money into something that gave you a negative ROI or a loss? The answer is no, right? There are only two places in the world that call people users: people that sell drugs and the social media platforms. You're the user, right? If you realize people think I'm the customer of social media, no, you're not. It's the advertisers. And the goal of the advertisers and for them is to keep you on the platform as long as possible. So my thought for all of us is let's go on, let everyone go on, look at how much time they spend and make a conscious effort over the next 2.5 months to cut the time down by half and invest that time into working on your craft. And if you all could do that, you'll have a cash machine next year. Imagine you took that hour a day and just made calls to people that you knew that you did business with. How would you not make more money? Imagine you took that hour a day and you practice your scripts and conversations. How would you not make more money? Andrea.
We can use that Pomodoro clock too to babysit our time spent.
Yeah.
I've been using that. That thing is incredible. So
It is
helpful.
it is the greatest productivity hack I've ever found in my life, because you can probably attest to this. I've been doing it now long enough that when I have 25 minutes, it's like a competition with myself of how much I can stay focused and
Yes.
how much I can get done. I'm finding things that like I would normally put an hour to an hour and a half to do, I can do in 25 minutes or less.
Yeah, it's pretty incredible. I do have a little script I'd like to share if I
Yeah.
may. So I learned this from a coach probably 6 or 7 years ago. Here we go on a role play. So, Shirag, I know you like this house. What price are you comfortable with on as an offer?
1.2 million.
1.2. Okay, perfect. And just so I understand you better, what price maybe are you a little uncomfortable with, but still willing to move forward?
1.3.
1.3. Okay, perfect. And just so I really am clear, what price would you be comfortable losing it for? You don't lose any sleep, you're not feeling like you lost out.
Anything over 1.3, I could care less.
Okay, there we go. And now we know what they're comfortable with, what they're willing to go to, etc.
Yeah, I always say in the simplest form, like, what's the price if it costs $1 more? Like, you could just say, screw you.
Right. So it's in alignment with that.
Yeah. And so look, like, again, I'll go back to the tie up of this. You all have the time to invest in yourself. Like, if you look at time, like you look at money, ROI, right? Look at your ROI on everything that you spend time on. Look at ROP, the return on people. Like, how do you feel when you engage with certain people in your life, right? People would say like ROP, that's crazy. I'm like, no, it's not. If you look at money, which is not nearly important as your time, your thoughts, your feelings, like when you leave people, like, do you leave inspired, excited? Do you at least leave in the same mental state you came in? Or they're people because you're bound in this relationship by nothing more than time, that you still feel obligated to show up, but every time, like, they kind of bring you down or you kind of feel like shit. Like, you don't owe anyone, you owe yourself. And for the parents that are here, you owe your kids because they didn't raise their hand to be put in this world. So I didn't mean to go on a philosophical rant of life, but I think as the year ends, there's no better time to be planned, purposeful, thoughtful, intentional. We have holidays coming. Kids love holidays. Halloween, Thanksgiving, Christmas, Hanukkah, New Year's, right? So just drill down into this and make this the time in your life where you're going to make a choice and choose yourself first. Namita, and then we have to jump.
Yeah. So, what we also need to keep in mind when the lender, and at least in our case, we don't even put the people in the car start showing homes till they've been pre-approved or the loan is underwritten. So then the lender shares with us, they can go to 1.8 or whatever, or 2 million, but they want to be at 1.4, 1.5 or 1.3 even. And that's happening. And then I just had a situation where they just stuck around 1.4, 1.5, less than 1.5. And then lo and behold, they found this other property for 1.650, which didn't appraise initially, but then we pulled all the stops and got it to appraise. So if we know that they can go up, sometimes it's nice to navigate or show them a fabulous house which they can't resist and they buy it. So I think that's another thing to consider. And there was one more thing which I now forgot, but that had just happened to me recently, and I took it as big step further with the HOA. I even comped out the HOAs and the different things, properties that we used as comps. And I said the reason the buyer went for this was because this was the lowest comp, though the highest price for price per square footage, and it was 100% totally done up. So then the appraiser bought into it because our first appraiser came in 300,000 less, and it was crazy.
So I'll end with this note. That is going the extra mile for your clients, right? So be an expert, be an advisor, come from a place of seeking to understand versus seeking to be understood. Be curious, be thoughtful, be helpful, be kind, love yourself first. And with love my heart, I love you all. And make sure you tune in tomorrow to our live stream. Myself and Ashley Dene, who's the head of Coaching Compass, we're going to be doing a live listing presentation. So,
what time is that?
2 to 3. Did you sign up for a free coaching month? You should get the email.
Yeah. I got it.
Not have the link, just email info@Shark Coaching, and my assistant Laura will send it over.
Yep.
All right, bye everybody.